The iPhone 13 Pro has impressed many thanks to its impressive camera system, quick screen refresh rate, smaller notch to its predecessor, and powerful processor. It's been around for well over 6 months now, believe it or not, and in that time I think it's useful to look back on this sort of smartphone. Is it worth buying now, or should you wait for the iPhone 14 Pro coming out in September to October time? After all, the iPhone 13 Pro was labelled one of the best smartphones of last year, so how does it hold up now? Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and thanks to Vodafone for sending out the subject matter. Today I'm reviewing the iPhone 13 Pro in 2022. I was surprised to see how little value the 13 Pro had lost. On eBay you're looking at around £700 to £800 for one of these for the 128GB base model. I think that's pretty high considering the phone's been out for over 6 months. Remember, these are used prices, not new ones. But even so, you're getting a lot of hardware for your money. I happen to really like the look of the 13 Pro. It has a smaller notch than its predecessor, as I mentioned before, though if rumours are true, the 14 Pro will have a dual punch hole. I much prefer the punch hole, but I know some people prefer the notch. It's down to personal preference. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. The contrastingly glossy sides and camera bump against the matte glass look really clean in my opinion. The symmetrical bezels right the way around the outside, despite the fact that there is a notch in it, I feel looks really clean, and actually this design has grown on me. I remember when it first came out, I really wasn't too hot on the flat sides. I feel like it worked on the smaller phones but not the bigger ones, and actually after using this phone again after 6 months later, it feels refreshing. I would still definitely put a case on this thing. I feel like it could get dinged up pretty easily. However, this review unit that's been sent out to many creators seems to be in good condition. Like the iPhone 13, the 13 Pro screen enjoyed a healthy brightness bump over its predecessor. This phone is significantly brighter than the 12 Pro, which is very noticeable out in the sun. It makes using the phone easier, which is hard to say no to, and the big reason why I would pick one of these over the 12 Pro. The 6.1 inch panel is more than sharp enough. Don't let tech nerds convince you otherwise. It might not be Quad HD, but if you really think that the average person's phone screen needs to push more pixels than your average TV or computer monitor, you're deluded. The 120Hz ProMotion display is nice to have, but it's not constant, meaning that it's adaptive. It will pick when to go down to 60Hz and when to go up to 120. This is noticeable sometimes, however I felt that it was appropriate and it knew when to change, and it was a pretty smooth transition most of the time, though if you're another tech nerd, you may want to go for something with a constant 120Hz refresh rate. This is not here. Battery life need not be a concern for most smartphone users as long as you're not constantly on your phone throughout the day and you have a job and you've got stuff you've actually got to be doing, then this thing will last you through a full day, end the day with 30 to 40% like I did. I do commute with earphones and I have a watch connected to it at all times, so I've been using Bluetooth quite a bit. And then with commuting I will use say 4G for about half an hour a day and then spend the rest of the day on Wi-Fi. With around 80 to 100% brightness when I'm out and about, and when I'm at work and at home I have it at around 40% brightness. I'm still able to end the day with around 40% left, so if I was a little bit lighter of a user, then I could use it for 2 days in a row before charging. And charging isn't particularly quick, it's locked to 20 watts. You don't get the brick in the box of course, but I tend to use the iPad one that came in that box for mine, so I would recommend you go out and pick like an Anker 20 watt charger or something like that. It's not going to charge mega quick, but it'll be enough to get you through the day, especially if you use low power mode if you're in a pinch. I tend to get to these performance sections of my reviews and not have much to say because modern smartphones are mostly quick enough. And I have to say the same thing about the 13 Pro. I've found no noticeable slowdown since when it first came out. It still feels as quick as a smartphone can get, and I'm sure it will do for at least another year and then start to slow down, and even then it won't slow down a hell of a lot. 128GB of storage is in my opinion ample for the baseline. I never use more than say 60-70GB on my smartphone, so it's never really an issue for me, although you can get I believe a 1TB option in this device. It will set you back a fair amount of money though. The camera section of the video is almost always my favourite part, and maybe that's because I'm a bit of a camera nerd, or maybe because this is the part that makes or breaks many a device for me. But the iPhone 13 Pro is interesting because it's the phone that has convinced me that shooting bits and bobs for this YouTube channel can be done on a smartphone. But before we look at the video, the photo samples. You've got 3 good quality cameras on the back of this thing, all 12 megapixels, and a good one on the front too. There's plenty of quality to go around, so you don't need to pick the main shooter for really good quality, though when you do, you'll enjoy slightly better performance thanks to the larger sensor. This larger sensor enables things like solid low light performance and more natural bokeh in front and behind the subject. There's a shallower natural depth of field compared to the smaller sensor. I am coming around to the colour processing. It's definitely not my favourite still by any means, but there's still a decent amount of contrast and I don't mind the lifted shadows as much as I used to. This is a personal preference thing, so if you prefer these colours then you're going to much prefer this camera system. However, I really did appreciate the 3x optical zoom. The 75mm or thereabouts focal length is really nice to have, and it gives you a sort of portrait aesthetic and a little bit extra reach over the 50mm that you might have found in previous devices. Video is superb from the 13 Pro, and some of my footage from this phone is actually going in some of my wearables reviews, as lugging around a big camera seems pretty pointless when I can shoot great quality, high dynamic range, well stabilized, sharp autofocused footage from something that fits comfortably in my pocket and that I'm going to be carrying around regardless. And that's before we talk about cinematic video, something that I definitely won't use for these videos. It's not quite polished enough yet, but does look rather convincing. I'm excited to see how committed Apple is going to be to improving this, because it's really cool even for its first implementation. So should you consider an iPhone 13 Pro? Well, I would say it's a little more nuanced than that. Firstly, if you're going to buy the 13 Pro and not the 14 Pro, wait for a couple of months, because when the 14 Pro comes out, the 13 Pro will massively drop in price and you'll be able to pick one up on the used market for a penny, maybe a bit more than a penny, but you get what I'm saying, and the new prices will also be slightly reduced as well. However, for the majority of people who can wait to get a new smartphone, I think the 14 Pro is going to be really interesting. I don't know if any of you have seen the rumours, but the fact that it's got that punch hole for me is a better thing, because I don't really like the notch. But also, the more improved 48 megapixel camera on the back is looking to be really exciting. I'm definitely not going to pre-order one. I'm going to wait until it comes out and see what the reviews are like, but that's the one I'm going for. Which is kind of crazy, because I have been almost glued to the mini devices for a little while now, and I really enjoy them. But with them going away, and also the fact that, like I said in the previous iteration, the camera section of this review, I really want to start using my smartphone to shoot more stuff, because it just makes sense. You know, I've got like 45,000 subscribers or something like that. I don't need to carry around a cinema camera with me everywhere. It's really handy to have, and not something that this can offer to the same kind of quality as something like the Pro devices. So I want to thank Vodafone for sending out this smartphone for review. It really helped me out, guys. Thank you. I will leave links to where you can buy their smartphones and other 4G and 5G deals in the description as well. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons for being continually supportive. Thank you so much, guys. It really does help the channel out. And I want to thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. As always, I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Peace.